Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the ROYL Podcast. Um, this isn't typically how we start off an episode, especially with a guest, for this season at least. But um, this week I did want to hop on to remind you that next Saturday, June 14th, is our third annual Kings Island ROYL Meetup. And we want to see you there. It's going to be a great day of fellowship. Beginning at 1 o'clock, we're going to meet together in front of the Kings Island Theater and just gather the group together and then go get a group photo in front of the Kings Island logo at the front of the park. And then just enjoying the day of just fun and fellowship. And then once we're done with the photo, we're going to go around we're going to actually meet back towards the theater maybe, or somewhere off to the side, and begin what we're calling Coaster Quest. It is a scavenger hunt through Kings Island, and we're so excited for it. It's going to be a lot of fun, something brand new we've never done before, and it's going to last from about 1:10 to 2:10 around the park, and we'll explain more at the park once we finish that, and then we'll just spend the rest of the day or rest of the time of the meetup just riding some coasters and again just enjoying that fellowship. And we really want you to be there. And we've got a pretty good turnout so far. We've had a few folks reach out and say, hey, we're going to be there. We're going to try to be there. And we want to see you there if you haven't expressed interest in it or have made it a part of your plans for next weekend. But go ahead and do that. Again, we would love to see you there. Put a name to a face or just meet each and every one of you. That's really what we want to do, is meet you all and just do a little bit of networking and just have folks meet other folks that are Christians that love coasters. So that is our, again, third annual ROYL Meetup at Kings Island. You don't want to miss it. Then later in the year, we'll talk about it once we get closer to it. But National Roller Coaster Day at Cedar Point, August 16th. And more details to come on that. But I just wanted to hop on to remind you of that and just get you hyped up and excited for this great day, as it always is. So we hope to see you there. But let's go ahead and jump into this week's episode of the ROYL Podcast with special guest, Christian Music Bros. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Ride for Your Life podcast. This week we are joined in the virtual studio by a guest that really resonates here with the podcast. As you all know, we are a podcast that obviously loves coasters, loves attractions, entertainment, all that. But for a good chunk of this podcast, back when Ryan joined me here in the virtual studio, we talked about a lot of Christian music. And today's guest, he has a lot to say about music as well, because his podcast covers all things Christian music. So joining us here in the virtual studio this week is Brendan of the Christian Music Bros podcast. How you doing, Brendan?
Pretty good. Just got out of work for today. In Michigan, it's really cold outside, so I'm just trying to avoid the cold as much as possible.
Yeah, I hear you. And here in Ohio, it is very cold, and I'm ready for winter to be over. I don't know how the winter's been up there in Michigan, but it's been nasty here.
As we speak, it's 5 degrees.
Goodness gracious. Man. Like I said, I'm ready for spring. I'm ready for summer. I'm ready for something other than a single-digit, snow-filled winter.
Exactly. Aren't we all?
Yeah. So how's the snow been? Has it been insane, or has it been kind of not?
It hasn't been as bad as the last few years. Like it comes and it melts, and it comes again, and it melts. So, Mark, if you look at the status here, we're like on our third winter. So pretty soon it's going to be like mud season, I guess.
Oh, man. Yeah. All I can say is it's a northern state problem, and this just makes me want to move to Florida. But then when I see what some of their summers looks like, it makes me want to come back up here. We just got to roll with it.
Exactly. Can't win either way.
Yeah, but we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about the Christian Music Bros podcast. So go ahead, introduce yourself, and share your testimony, and then we'll get to know the podcast as well.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, my name is Brendan. My last name is Burke. So my name is Brendan Burke. I'm the host of the Christian Music Bros podcast. Give me a second to pick this up. Speaking of CD, Christian music, one of my autograph CDs just fell off my autograph wall, so I have to fix that. So I'm going to advertise. Here's Andrew Rip.
Nice.
I'm kidding. But I just hang up so you can see in my background. I'm a big Christian music fan. I have all this Christian music stuff signed. So it's Matthew West for King Country. We have Danny Goki by Torrent Wells, Newsboys, before Michael Tate left them with Newsboys. But I've been listening to Christian music since probably like 2011. And I also work with New Release Today on this side. I don't know if you're familiar with New Release Today. Are you familiar with them at all?
No.
They're like a Christian music website.
Nice.
So I'm more of the behind the scenes social media person. I help run this group called Christian Music Fandom. And then my former co-host, Bradden, who was on the channel with me, me and him both wanted to do something new. And we're like, okay, let's do this podcast. Like, we can talk about albums and dive into albums. So we chose, like, for our first episode, we did the Toby Mac album, Life After Death. And we went track by track, talk about all the songs. We chose stories of the song, like if we had a personal story, or themes in the song, or just like lyrics, and we were just talking about albums like that. Flash forward to about, let's say, 2023, Winter Jam in 2023. Sean Rodriguez followed our page, and I met him at Winter Jam. I don't know if you know Sean Rodriguez. Do you know Sean Rodriguez?
That name sounds familiar, and I've actually listened to that episode that you did with him.
Yes, so he was actually... This is in 2023. He's like, hey, I like your podcast. Have you ever thought about having guest stars? And I was like, not really. We like this album feel we're doing, and we really don't want to bother people and do their own thing. We just want to do our own thing. He's like, well, I'd be honored to be a guest on your podcast. So I was like, why not? We tried something new. So from there, we just started having guest stars after guest stars. And I actually just met with Sean Rodriguez. This is actually one of my newer episodes. So if you know my podcast, this is one of the newer episodes. I think this is like my third newest episode. As we speak, I'll be posting a new episode tomorrow. Cool. Today's the 17th of February, so I try to post weekly. But Sean Rodriguez joined our podcast. We talked about his songs, track to back track, to hear his heart, his stories and beyond the album. Then flash forward, now I'm just doing artist interviews. I'm doing webinars and showcase since Brad left. But we've had plenty of great guest stars. We had Kate Stanford. We had Jason Dunn, formerly Paul Nelson. I just did one with Stephen Stanley. I haven't posted it yet, but Stephen Stanley. Mm-hmm. Eddie DeGarmo was another name, Natalie Lane, Seth Schrader, and I just like hearing different people's stories and everything. And sometimes I'll do a fun episode here, like we did Christian Music Jeopardy one time, or then I did the future landscape of Christian music. So I had 8 artists and me just talk about the future landscape of music and everything, and like where that's going to in the next like 2 to 3 years, like where we think that's going to go.
Cool.
That's just like everything in a nutshell.
That's awesome, man. And it's funny you mentioned Kate Stanford. She's the one that actually recommended your podcast to me, and I gave it a listen. I'm like, man, I need to have him on here because our listeners will know we are big Christian music fans here on the Ride of Your Life podcast, because actually our second episode, it was longer than we expected. It was almost 2 hours where my co-host and I talked solely about Winter Jam, like literally the whole timeline of Winter Jam. Talked about the very first Winter Jam they had, where it was just a new song, all the way up till 22, I believe. But we literally went through the whole history of it, gave our commentary. It was longer than we expected, but we love our Christian music, and I'm so honored to have you here to talk about it today. And
speaking of Winter Jam, I do. When Braden was with the podcast, Braden stepped away in October, so I've been a lot of rebranding, and it's just me now. But every year we would do our Winter Jam prediction episodes. We did it 3 times. This year this came out of nowhere, but we have 560 streams on our Winter Jam prediction episode this year, and we were way off. So I don't know if you guys think we're part of Winter Jam, but we're not.
Now I got to ask, who did you predict was coming to Winter Jam this year?
Let's see here. I think, well, we got the Skillet part, right? Because like every 3 years it's Skillet, because it's like routine. Yeah. You'll get Skillet and Crowder, then you'll get some random nobody, like not nobody, but like some random one you're not going to expect the other year, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then I think at one point we said Leanna Crawford for like the female artist, Hovey for the rap / hip hop artist. But I'm in Michigan, so we had Winter Jam in my city in Grand Rapids. Because there's 2 shows in Michigan. They had Trip Lee this year, which was interesting because it's KB if you're anywhere else in this country, I guess. Yeah. And then who else did we predict? We predicted Jordan Felice was our big guess. We were hoping for Jordan Felice, but then we got Colton Dixon in that spot. And then we had like Natalie Lane as like a pre-jam artist, and we had like Red Rocks Worship as pre-jam
Mm-hmm.
versus like where SCU Worship is and everything.
Yeah, I guess you can safely say Skillet is a given. Like you said, every 3 years they will definitely be there, Lord willing. But
Mm-hmm.
those are some good guesses, and it's funny that you mentioned that Tripoli was at your location. He was actually at the Columbus location as well, due to Rock the Universe, which I actually got to see a little bit of KB when he was at Rock the Universe. But it's Winter Jam is such a fun event. I'm so thankful for it, and that new songs is still keeping it alive after all these years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what is your dream lineup for Winter Jam?
For headliners, if we're talking realistically,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't say like Brandon Lake, because I feel like that's
Absolutely.
really unrealistic, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. I liked it when a few years when they had for King of Country, like that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But like the one headliner, me and Brad and I were talking about, like they should get like a fresh face, like Josiah Queen
Mm-hmm.
would have been like a perfect headliner material, I think, for this year.
Yeah.
So Josiah Queen is blowing up at like the indie industry. Like he just released that new song with Brandon Lake and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a bigger, like a younger audience, like the preteen, like 14-year-olds to like the 28-year-old demographics been flocking towards him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he would draw that youth group crowd in.
Mm-hmm.
For rock band, I like how they the last few years they switched it up outside of the Skillet. We
Mm-hmm.
had like Disciple, Seventh Day Slumber, and I feel like those are both good picks. So I would have been fine with either one of those, or I was hoping for a TFK reunion
Nice.
because they would really said about reimagining, and I only saw them once, so TFK would have been fun. But there's the Letter Black would have been another great choice there, and everything I think, or anyone else on like the Rockfest Rescuers would have been incredible there. Rewind, they're a good friend of mine and everything.
Cool.
For pop artists, because I do despite demographic. Like we said, we wanted Jordan Fleas. That was like my dream one, is I wanted to see Jordan Fleas out there,
Mm-hmm.
and he's done it once in the past. And I was like, it's Colton Nixon again. Colton's a great artist too, as well. But we were just hoping like Jordan Fleas would have that spot. Rapper, hip hop artist, whatever you want to say. I was thinking Andy Mineo might come back out just because he's been releasing new music here in like the last 2-3 months, and like he's getting out of his cave, I guess. I could say. But we also said Hovey was in our choice. Like I feel like that would have been a great ad, or Social Club Misfits would have been another ad right there in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then for female artists, I guess, we were, like I said, Leanna Crawford was a name we brought up, and Tasha Layton was actually another one we actually brought up and discussed at one point. Both of those artists are doing fantastic things. And then for your bonus artists, like kind of like that Micah Tyler spot, if you know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying this as a spot. Like all these artists are like equal per se. If we had like Apollo LTD, but then I found out they went on hiatus.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if a lot of people know that, and if they're back on, I apologize if I misled you. But we also said someone like Natalie Lane would have fit there, but Micah Tyler was a good fit there and everything. So
yeah, that is a good dream lineup and some really good artists. But I like how you mentioned Social Club. It's been a long time since they've been at Winter Jam. I'd love to see them back. And I was hoping they would be here in recent years, but yeah.
Yeah, and like there's just so many. I'm one of those suckers. Like the same artists are okay and all. Like this year was kind of like a recycle of years past. Honestly, but I like the new fresh faces. So the last few years they had like We the Kingdom, Taryn Wells, Ann Wilson, I Am Day, for example. Yeah. So I just like the Disciple, Seventh Day Slumber. I just like the fresh faces. I like how it changes, and it's artists you won't always see every year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And
I can safely say I can maybe see Kane, because next year will be the one weird year where they had Crowder last year that's Skilled this year. There can be a bonus headliner like We the Kingdom. I can see it safely being like Kane next year.
Yeah. And I think the most recent one that threw us off was We the Kingdom as the headliner. I didn't think they could have been a headliner, but they did pretty good from what I got to see when they came to Columbus. And
when you look at Spotify stats, because I'm a big sucker for like stats, no matter if it's sports stats, music stats, whatever. We the Kingdom actually has more monthly listeners than Jeremy Camp did on Spotify at that time.
Wow, that's insane. And it stinks that Franny's no longer with them, but I'm sure they're doing pretty good even with her absence. And they put out some good
Abbott wasn't emotionally, so
yeah. Franny was really the draw to them when they had her. So, like you, I haven't been as much of a faithful listener as I did back then. But yeah, but the rest of your lineup was really good. And Forrest Frank is another one. I was convinced he was coming this year, but then I
thought he
remembered.
was going to be a special guest.
Mm-hmm. And
Because I just did an interview with John Leslie. Do you remember John Leslie? I don't know if you went to Brendan John Leslie.
no.
He's with Reach City Worship.
Okay.
He was like the pre-jam artist. I met with him maybe like a week or two after I went to Brendan Jam. We were talking about it. He said, yeah, a lot of people want to Forrest Frank, see Forrest Frank, Josiah Queen. Brandon Lake was in our requested name and everything. So it's just really cool. Like those are the most requested names he said were like For King and Humphrey, Forrest Frank, and Josiah Queen, and Brandon Lake, and Phil Wickham.
Yeah, those are some artists that would really pack out an arena. And I think based off what I saw at Universal for Rock the Universe and the insanity of the night that Brandon Lake was there, I think he would sell out of Winter Jam quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what.
Go ahead.
That's one of the things Brendan and I, when we were on our predictions, that we're like, just a heads up, anyone that could sell out an arena, so like Mercy Me, Casting Crowns, Brandon Lake for King Country, will never headline Winter Jam, unfortunately.
Yeah. And now that Toby Mac has his own quote unquote Winter Jam, it's cool to see some of those artists going to his as well. And hopefully it's not the end of their potential run, I guess, at Winter Jam. But it's neat to see that it's a lot smaller, more intimate, for lack of better words, concert experience. I think there's like himself and then 4 other artists.
There's Crowder, Kane, Tyrion, and Ryan Stevenson. Only reason I noticed, I have tickets and I've seen them in like 2 weeks.
Nice.
So.
Man, and it's neat to see what Toby's doing as well. Just some of the neat things he's been doing. And out of Toby comes Tyrion, and she's doing a phenomenal job. She's just a breakout artist there. Yeah, she's been with Toby all these years, but she's been doing phenomenal.
She just stepped out of Hit Steep. I think she just stepped out of Hit Steep, and she'll be doing her own, or not Hit Steep, but Toby Mac's Diversity. So maybe next year we can see her at Winter Jam. That was another prediction we had, actually. Like in that Micah Tower spot, we had Tyrion.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of how it was for Jen Ledgerfer a little bit when she did the Ledger label. It's neat to see her do her own set at Winter Jam that year. And I think that was 2019?
2019, I think. Danny Goki, New Song United. I mean, Newsboys United.
Mm-hmm. I will say that.
Hollian.
Yes. That was probably one of my favorite years. And not just because of the lineup, but just the 180 stage that they had in the center of the arena was really neat, and there wasn't a bad seat for it. So that's one of my favorite Winter Jams. But other than Winter Jam, what are some of your other favorite concerts that you've been to recently?
So I'm going to Hit Steep tour soon, so that's going to be exciting because we were just talking a little bit about the Hit Steep tour. So this will be my 4th Hit Steep tour I'm going to. So I've been to the one in 2017, 2018, and I think 2022. Because the thing, the opposite between Hit Steep and Winter Jam, for those who are listening, just because I like to put out facts out there. I'm sorry, I'm like a fact person. If Hit Steep goes to your city in, say, this year, they won't be going to your city next year. I think that's what I noticed, at least. I don't know if anyone else listening or if you have seen that. If they go to your city this year, they won't go to it next year. And they actually hit up the West Coast, unlike Winter Jam does.
Mm-hmm. I've actually noticed that because last year it was in Columbus at the Wright State arena there, and it's not this year. So hopefully next year they have a solid lineup and come back to us here in Ohio, because I'd love to see it. I've never been to it.
I would love to show you my free thing I want, my cool thing I want. It's a Hit Steep related.
Go for it.
I'm too lazy to go grab it because I have to set my laptop for that. But I have a signed Hit Steep tour guitar from the lineup last year. So it's Mac Powell, Corey Asbury, Toby Mac, Tasha Layton, John Reddick, and Tyrion. I want a free Hit Steep signed guitar.
And through the power of editing, we'll flash it right here. Yeah, you saw it, guys.
I took a picture. But it's really cool. But it was like really cool. I expect we would have. But on the side of that, I go to a lot of Christian concerts, but I always go to check. I'm a big fan of the rock band Shinedown. I listen to like a lot of mainstream rock, and so I have them coming up on my agenda. It'll be my 4th time seeing them in 3 years.
Wow. Cool.
So like I see them every year. I also go to a lot of classic rock concerts with my parents because we're all like both all classic, right? So I'm going to go see Billy Joel here in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
So that's like a big one. I know it's not Christian, but I go to like a lot of Christian music. I would show you right next to me on my wall right here. I'm just pointing. I have over 700 Christian albums. So like if you name me a Christian artist, I can probably name you at least 5 albums or songs from them.
All right. Let's play a little game here. I'm going to list off a random artist, and then I'll have you share it. So let's start with the easy one. For King Country,
they have the Crave album or Live Free Die. I can't pronounce
Run
the
Wild
thing. Yeah, and then there's Burn the Ships, and I think in their best album, their newest one, What Are You Waiting For? What Are We Waiting For? That's a great album.
All right, so there's that one.
Are we naming songs or albums? That would make my life easier. Are we going to name songs or albums?
Let's do songs. That might be a little bit easier than remembering.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, albums at a spot. Like I know songs, but not albums.
All right.
Names.
Next, talking about T-Mac. Give us a T-Mac.
So we have Light Shines Bright, Backstreet Driver. I'm Going Me Without You, City on Our Knees. We have Lose My Soul. There's just a couple of 5. There's 5 on top of my head.
All right, we'll keep it at 5 so to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I could go more and more.
All right. How about Danny Goki? I'm looking at his album art right behind you.
There we go. But Danny Goki is actually one of my favorite artists. But there's Tell Your Heart to Beat Again. There's Rise. There's The Comeback. Better Than Gold. My Best Days, which is actually a country Danny Goki song and not his mainstream stuff. So we're going to go to the deep cut there. We Lift Your Name. And then there's I forgot the name of his new album. But there's so much good Jesus music. There's another one. We All Need Jesus. There's another one.
Awesome. And then one of my favorite artists, Matthew West.
Matthew West is actually right behind here.
That's why I picked him as.
And I actually have like 4 more Matthew West things. He's one of my favorite artists.
Nice.
But there's Hello, My Name Is, Do Something. There's Forgiveness. There's Day One. There's Grace Wins. There's My Story, Your Glory. Truth Be Told, God Who Stays. I can just keep going, but I'm going to just stop right here. There is, let me just say this one because Gobble Gobble. Okay.
Yes.
I had to go there.
Oh, man. And I'm surprised for Danny Goki you didn't mention Wah Wah Wash Your Hands. His pandemic song.
I was listening to it once, and then I was like, I'm not listening to this ever again.
That's his one-hit wonder for that time. But
it's a one-hit wonder from Matthew West, but it got deleted. There's a big hot take about it. I don't know if I should talk about it live, but I don't know if you ever saw his one-hit wonder.
Modesty is Hottesty?
Yes.
Yep. Man.
I'll try to find it on YouTube, see if someone has like a deep cut of it somewhere, and then I couldn't find it. I was like, dang.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but if you can't take a joke, it's like, come on. But, oh well. Let's get some female artists in there. How about Tasha Layton?
Tasha Layton has Never. She has Worship Through It. She has How Far, Catch My Breath, and Into the Sea, I think it's called.
Yeah. And then
she only has 1 album out right now, so that one's a little more challenging. But fun fact about Tasha Layton, she was Katy Perry's backup singer at one point. I don't know if you knew this, but
I've heard her testimony. It's amazing. It's just neat how the Lord's been using her and taking her out of the secular culture and using her to.
But if you listen to some of her songs off her debut album, you can hear the Katy Perry influence.
Wow. I'll have to check out some of those. And at Rock the Universe, she did premiere a few songs that are coming out on her next album, and she's got some really good stuff ahead. And
exactly. I was surprised she was not going to hit Steep this year, but she's now going on tour with Danny Goki, actually, out of all the people.
I just saw that announcement, and I'm excited for them. They're 2 amazing artists. I love their music. I love it, and you could definitely tell they're worshiping through their music. That's something I love about artists, is just you can see their love for the Lord through their music. Let's see here. Another one that's coming out with a new album here soon, Katie Nicole.
Katie Nicole has a couple of good ones. God Is in a Story. When I Fall, that's a great song, by the way. That's like one of my songs of the year. My God Can. There was Please, and I'm trying to think of the other one. It's not God in the Story. I can't think of the name of the song on top of my head. I have it on top of my head, but there was still 4 I just gave you guys, so I'll take the 80%.
Hey, fair enough. Well, you did great, man.
she's one of those newer artists. So like, only has like that one single on that one album, basically.
Yeah, but she does some really good stuff too. And some of the songs she premiered of her new album are going to be really good. There's one called Thorns that I think it's going to be probably one of her next top 5 songs. It's going to be really good.
And for those who are listening, if you're looking for like new artists, kind of like Katie Nicole and that, Jamie McDonald's a new incredible artist. I don't know if you listen to Jamie McDonald.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give some shout outs to some of the newer artists that you've been able to meet. We've met Kate Stanford, and she's kind of our leeway to you. So, who are some other artists that you've just been listening to lately and getting to know that you just want to get out there?
Well, one of them, my personal favorites, I'd known who they were before I scheduled the interview because I had to go for management, and management's fun. But Stephen Stanley, I recommend listening to Stephen Stanley if you haven't listened to Stephen Stanley yet. Have you listened to Stephen Stanley?
I've heard a few of his stuff.
He's one of my favorite artists, and I just did an interview with him. It's not live yet. Jeremy Rosardo is another one that I just met with that I haven't posted that episode. He's also a big name right now. You can check out Laverdier. I'm pronouncing that wrong. Katie Reynolds is another one I had a few months ago. She's a really great person. I'm trying to think of these independent artists. There's Kate Stanford, obviously. Amanda Nolan's another one. Yeah. Grace Graber. I have a couple. I'm meeting this girl tomorrow as we speak. Her name's Sweden Yakovich. Sweden. I don't know if I pronounced the name wrong, but she's from like Texas and everything. I'm excited to meet with her. She only has like 2 songs out, so I was excited to hear her. Then there's Laura Williams. I have like 800 artists I can give you, but I'm just going to keep it nice and sweet.
Hey, that's fair enough. And I love the new and up and coming artists. There's one, I don't know if you've heard of them, but the Scally Brothers. They're good.
I heard them.
Yep. Yeah, there's some good friends of mine. They came on the podcast, and there's some really good up and coming guys that are just, their love for the Lord and love for people is just amazing. So I'd recommend them as well. But yeah, we've got some good artists. And how have you come in contact with some of these artists?
This is going to sound really cheesy on my part because you have like a big podcast here, like it's growing. I send a lot of DMs on Instagram.
Huh. Hey, that's how I get a lot of my guests too, is sending DMs.
And sometimes I'll send emails. Like some artists will like, you have to contact my management, so they'll send me their management email. So like bigger names like the Stephen Stanley one, the Jeremy Rosardo, Natalie Lane, I had to go for management, etc.
Cool. And
then fun fact about some of these artists. Some of these artists I brought up, so like Kate Stanford, Cody Towell is another friend of mine. I'm doing actually a fun special. I post about it on my page. I don't know how much you've paid attention to my page, but I'm doing an indie artist showcase, so that's really cool.
Nice. And definitely be on the lookout for that, everybody. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow Christian Music Bros Instagram page. They're always active, and they're always posting new stuff on there. And while we're talking about it, go ahead and plug yourself and where folks can get connected with the podcast, and something we'll talk about here in just a second that's coming up for you guys.
So the easiest way is just to follow our Instagram. And my Instagram is also connected to my Facebook, but as long as we're not personal friends on Facebook, you won't see my things, but I post a lot on my Facebook page because it's hand in hand with my podcast. And then you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon. This is the first time I'm actually announcing this live on like an episode, I guess, per se. But I just signed, or not really signed a contract, but there's a radio channel called Star FM. They're out of Florida, in the Kissimmee, Florida area. They're going to be playing they have me on their website. You can look them up there. Or you can listen live from 10 to 11 on Saturdays, 10 to 11 a.m. on Saturdays, and 7 to 8 p.m. on Sundays. They'll be using my pre-recorded segments and making them into a radio special. So you can listen to them there if you're in the Florida area or online.
Awesome. That's going to be my next question. Tell us about this new announcement you've made about going to the radio waves and how just that all came to be.
To be honest with you, I have no idea how this radio channel found my podcast or who recommended it. It works wonders. Like, it works wonders. Nice. But I was just sitting at work, like on my break, like this was actually like last week as we're talking. I don't know how fast this will be up. And then I just get an email like, "Hey, Brendan, we'd love your podcast. We would love to know if you want to be like on our podcast on our radio channel, and like if you can send MP3 segments and we can get you into our radio rotation." I'm like, "Is this spam email? Is this a spam email or legit email?" So I had to go for like the website, and that's how it happened. Like I honestly have no words like how it happened. It just happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, so neat how the Lord works and how that was all orchestrated. Because when I saw that, I'm like, that is so cool, and it's just neat.
It like happened. It just like was out of nowhere. Like I didn't reach out to anyone or anything. They just reached out to me, and I'm like, okay.
It's like, sure, I'll send you some MP3s.
And either this weekend, so 22nd or 23rd, or the first weekend of March will be my first not live, but like I'll send them MP3s, like first time live on the radio channel, so people can check it out.
Yeah, super cool, man. So best of luck with that um, new venture, and it's neat to see just what the Lord will do with that. And on that thought, what is some of the things the Lord's been teaching you lately, whether it's through the podcast or just life in general? What are some things God's been teaching you?
So one of the things is I'm really passionate about what I do,
Hmm.
so I need to learn to slow down. Like everything happens for a reason,
Yeah,
and just to be patient. There's an artist, I'm not going to throw them under the bus or their management team under the bus. I've been working with them for the last, let's say, month and a half, trying to figure out everything. So just teach me to be patient. Everything happens in God's time.
yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, waiting is probably one of the hardest things we could ever do, or seems like one of the
Right.
hardest things we can do. But that's really when God teaches us life lessons to rely upon Him and not ourselves, as Proverbs 3,
And
5, and
like
6 say.
these episodes, like I have a tight schedule because I have a 9 to 5 job.
Hmm.
This podcast is all freelance. Like I have no money towards it. It's just me putting out my own time and talent into it. So like it just teaches me to be patient. Like, okay, they're busy this day and I'm busy, not busy this day, but I have to work with their schedules and my schedule. So just trying to work with other people.
Yeah, I know how it is, man. And life happens, but it's neat to see some of the results of your podcast and just some of the neat things you've been able to do. And so keep it up, man. You've been doing awesome. I enjoy listening to the podcast when it comes out, and it's just neat. And it's just cool to see your journey with it as well, and just seeing just the opportunities God's given you, like this radio station, just getting to meet some really cool artists. So just keep it up, man. Keep on keeping on, and
Mhm.
even in the seasons of waiting, it will pay off in the end, as you can attest to. So good stuff. But some of the things that we like to share with our listeners each week. And this may be the hardest question that I ask today. So each Saturday we have something called Song Spotlight, where we get to highlight a song that means something special to us. And as we always do, we ask our guests, what song would you like to highlight this week? If you had to pick one song to highlight as our Song Spotlight of the week.
Let me see here. Give me 1 second. I'm going on my Spotify playlist. Give me 1 second.
Sounds good. And it's always hard when I even have to ask myself, what is the song spotlight going to be if there's like no guests for the week? It's like, what am I going to put in here? There's so many good songs out there.
Right. There's so many songs I've been listening to. So like, I'm just gonna name two right off the bat
Go
right now.
for it.
I've been listening to again by Jeremy Camp.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've listened to that song.
I probably have.
And then I've been also listening to the song "Thank You for the Cross" by Taryn Wells.
I haven't
It's
heard,
Taryn Wells' new song.
I haven't heard that yet, but I'll definitely have to check that out. So,
But it's so fun to see Taryn Wells because he was, if for those who are listening, was with the band ROYL Taylor,
yeah.
who was all out pop music for like this first album. Now he's going more to worship vibe, and just cool to see Taryn Wells. So like continue to evolve as an artist. He's kind of like a Pokemon. He's starting small and then going big. I don't know. I'm trying to give an example.
I will never look at Torrin Wells the same ever again.
I don't know. I was just trying to think of a weird example.
That is awesome. But that is neat to see his progression, like you said. And I've actually started going back and listening to Taylor because growing up, I really didn't listen to much CCM.
Mhm.
So going back and listening to some of that, it's neat to see where he is today. And he's even a pastor of a church now. He's just doing these awesome albums and everything. And it's just neat to see.
Just went on tour with Chris Tomlin.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's cool. So I need to check and see if he's coming in the area because I might have to go check that out. But yeah, but that's cool. Uh, So Matthew West, gotta love him too. And another question that we ask our guests um, is there a verse that you would claim as like your life verse? What is it, and why is it your life verse? Mm-hmm.
I don't have verses memorized in my head like some people do, and I'm
No
really bad
worries.
about that, and I do apologize on there.
You're fine.
So, so I just the best thing is I just the current instrument. This is going to sound really cheesy, about like John 3:16, obviously,
Yeah.
just because it's most simple. It's something easy to remember, and people always are like, "What does it mean?" And it's for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. It's just so, and I just like big on mental health awareness. So it just makes me think of like that His Son came for you, He cares for you, He loves you, and everything.
Absolutely, and it's good to have that verse too as like your life verse and your favorite verse. Just shows it's the gospel, plain and simple. That Jesus Christ came to this earth to die for you because He loved you, and now you can have eternal life because of that and what He did. Just having a simple childlike faith, believing what He did, and putting your faith and trust in Him. So good stuff, man. So obviously we have the radio show coming up, but what is next for the Christian Music Bros podcast and brand?
There's something I can't go into too much details yet, so I
Okay.
can't say that. But if you do follow my page, I can promise you you'll see an announcement later or sooner. It's been something I've been working with. If you know anything about the podcast, or not the podcast, I'm a podcast. The Instagram page, Christian Music Emerging, or Christian Music Events. I don't remember the exact name,
Mhm.
but stay tuned. I'm working with something with them.
Cool.
I can tell you out there, but I can't say anything out loud
Okay.
because I don't want to get in trouble. I can't get in trouble for saying anything I'm not allowed to say right now. But I
Stay
just
tuned.
told you I'm working on an indie artist showcase. So I have at least 4 segments right now from indie artists in the thing. I'm going to be having 2 co-hosts, my friend Cody Towell and Josh Gittins. They're both independent artists. They're good friends of mine. We're going to be talking about a couple. We're going to share some Christian music indie spotlight. So we're going to make a pre-recorded segment, make it into like a mini like concert, I guess.
Cool.
I just wrapped my interview with Stephen Stanley, and I'm working with a couple more artists. I'm thinking about making more reels this year and just making more engaging. I'll have to do more topics. I don't know what topics we're going to be covering. And then, yeah, those are some of the big goals I have for this year.
Awesome. So stay tuned for those, everybody. And we're excited to see what that announcement is. So stay tuned. That just gives you another reason to go follow him on Instagram. So what's your Instagram handle again there, Brendan?
Just nice and easy. Christian Music Bros Podcast.
Simple as that. So what you can do right now is pause this episode, go on over to Instagram, search Christian Music Bros Podcast, and hit that follow button. You won't regret it. So, Brendan, what are some final takeaways or thoughts you want to leave with our listeners for this week, if anything?
A big,
Mm-hmm.
if you are a current listener to my podcast and you're like, I just want to check out his interview now, being interviewed versus him doing an interview. Thank you for supporting me so far. I appreciate every single one of you. It's been a crazy ride with me and Brendan, to me, for rebranding and everything in between. So it's a great thing. I want to thank you to the artists that always have supported the podcast and been a big fan of the podcast. And if you're new, I want to encourage you to give the podcast a listen, or give this podcast a listen as well. Don't be afraid to reach out, try new things. Like this podcast, I didn't know, we're about 2.5 years in. I didn't expect it to happen and still be going on after 2.5 years. After like 3 months, 4 months, I was like, this might be the end. And now look at it, and it just keeps growing. So don't be afraid to try new things, and always put your best foot forward, because you missed 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael Scott. I'm kidding.
Yes. Oh, that's so awesome to know that you're a fellow Office fan.
I'm not an Office fan, actually. I just know the reference.
Yes, nice. Well, man, it's been an honor and a just privilege to have you on the podcast this weekend. Everybody, I've said it once, I've said it twice, and I'm going to say a third, maybe 100th time this episode. Go and check out the Christian Music Bros podcast. You won't be disappointed. He's got some really great guests, some names you may know, some names you may not know. That's just a way you can grow your playlist, is check out these artists, and you won't be disappointed. So thanks again, Brandon, for joining us this week, and we'll definitely have to have you back in the future and just see what God's been doing with you and just catch up.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for everyone who's listening today.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on your new adventures, and we're so excited to see where the Lord leads from there.